Talk Radio, you're in to all things music.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove with your host, Jackie Bertoni. Get ready to come behind the scenes with your favorite musicians, candid and raw. Jackie keeps it real as only Jackie can. Are you ready to get your groove on?
Desde mi tierra lo traigo en el pensamiento y canto con sentimiento esta plena en Venezuela. Su linda gente, su canto y su tradición, sus playas y vacilón, lo siempre llevo en mi mente. Y ahora que hoy junto a los dos países, que unidos sigan felices y lo bailen como es.
Everybody, welcome back. Hey, this is Jackie Bertoni. You're tuned into Jackie's Groove, brought to you by the almighty Intertalk Radio Network. Hey, guys, it's good to be back in the studio. My first interview since my departure from back surgery, so I couldn't figure out who to get on the show other than a dear friend of mine that we go back. Our friendship is pushing 30 years. Boy, we're old. But it's a good thing, man. I mean, we've gone through life together. He's been a mentor. He's been a friend. His son, Roland Gajate Garcia, known for his legacy with Dancing with the Stars and Diana Ross. I mean, I used to hold Roland. That's how old I am. But the fact is, we're all moving forward, man. So I got to tell you, man, it's a beautiful January 30th. It's a Monday. It's a beautiful day in Southern California. And I'm proud and I'm privileged to welcome to Jackie's Groove my dear friend, fellow percussionist / drummer, my homeboy, my slice of life. Please welcome everybody with open ears and open arms, Richie Gajate Garcia to Jackie's Groove. Richie, ¿cómo está, papa?
Hey, ¿qué pasa, Jackie?
Man.
Here we are. I'm sorry that you're the old guy. You know, I'm still the young guy.
Yeah. It's okay, man. Hey, we're here to talk about it, man. We're here to talk about, Richie, with all the multitudes of interviews that you've done over the years, this is going to be different, man, because it's simply musicians to musicians. It's going to be like you and I hanging out in the backyard, having a cigar and a glass of wine. I'm just going to chop it up. We're going to bring the people behind the velvet rope so they can walk in your shoes for 2 hours, if not for your 40-plus year career. So with that said, let's kind of everybody kind of bring him into light itself. How old were you? And let's back it up one more. Where were you born and where were you raised? And did you ever grow up?
I don't know about that part, but I can tell you I was born in New York City in Queens General Hospital. And I lived in New York City till I was about 7 years old. And then my whole family, I was first raised by my grandparents. My whole family packed up and went back to Puerto Rico, so then I grew up the rest of my life in Puerto Rico till I graduated from high school. And then I came to the States to go to college.
And, and thinking about that, and as I asked a lot of my compadres that I know, but were percussion, were hand drums and trap set drums your first choice? Or what actually brought you into the music scene? What instrument did you go to first?
Well, my dad, who was, that's where the Garcia name comes from. He was my stepfather, but I was raised by him, not by my Gajate father. But anyway, he actually played congas years ago in the 40s with Xavier Cugat.
Really?
So, yeah. So, and then he also was with a band in San Francisco called something Madrid, Havana Madrid. And in those days, they used to wear the mambo shirts and there would be 2 conga players because they had to carry it on their shoulders like Ricky Ricardo,
Wow.
Yeah. And then, in Puerto Rico, of course, he always loved the music. And when he married my mom in Puerto Rico, when they brought me from my grandparents to be with him, the first thing that he did was he played me a record it was called Herman's, what was it? Tito Puente. It was like Herman's Beat and Puente's something. I can't remember the title, but something like that. Herman's Heat and Puente's Beat. It was the first record I ever heard of Tito Puente, and that's how he tried to kind of get to know me a bit. And it was through the music that I became really close to my stepdad.
Now, what year was this? You put the thinking cap on for a second.
Well, it was around 1957 or so.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah, and go ahead.
No, I'm just saying because I'm looking over here, at just your bio that I know, and as a standard question, I'm going to ask you how many musicians are in the family. Do you want to go ahead and brag about the kids?
Oh, at home, well, I have my oldest son, Tristan. He's a bass player and a trombone player.
Right.
And he plays bass with Santana's son. And then he plays trombone with me on a big online Christian ministry thing that we do. And he also jobs around town, either playing salsa bands or playing bass with, pop bands or whatever's around. And then Roland is the other me. He since he was 5 years old, he wanted to do percussion. He always knew what he wanted, and so he's the one that does Dancing with the Stars, and he also did American Idol for a while. And he's done just about almost all the gigs I did because I used to take him with me. Like when I was with Patti LaBelle, I'd bring him and say, "Here, sit in the side and learn. Try to watch how I play, so that if I ever have to send you like a sub, they don't have to move anything. Just play the way I play." So he does the same stuff: one-handed conga and timbales with the other hand, that kind of stuff.
And trust me, because the apple did not fall too far from the tree, And I look at all these the gigs that you had, and I'm going to brag on you because Diana Ross, some cat by the name of Sting. Also Phil Collins. I remember the day you got Phil Collins' gig. That was actually very cool looking back. And Stevie Wonder and Patti LaBelle. But you know what kind of blows me out of the water, Richie, is your relationship with John Denver. Do you remember how deep you guys went together on that? Because I know you were playing both drums and percussion on that gig. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. For sure. But let me say something real quick because I don't want my other two kids to be mad that I didn't mention them.
Go ahead.
So there's Devin. Devin is my third son, and he's studying music in college right now, and he's into more bass. He can play a little bit of percussion and drums and stuff, but he went more like his older brother. And then my daughter plays piano, and she's like sometimes I say the most gifted one because she just grabs any instrument and just plays it. So she's very much into art and all of that. So I mentioned my four kids: Tristan, Roland, Devin, and Lisette. Okay,
now,
and of course,
I met Lisette at
thanks to Mary.
Well, there you go. Give her the credit where credit is due. And I met Lisette over at the LP happening, didn't I?
Oh yeah. She came there. She's 15 now. Incredible. But getting back to your question with John Denver, the way that happened was that Efren Toro.
Right.
Was playing with him because first Michiro Sanchez played, and he only played percussion. And then I guess at one point he wanted to have somebody who played drums and percussion. So then Efren Toro was playing. And then Efren was very busy in those days doing film, and I used to be his sub at MI teaching.
Crazy.
And so he called me. So Richie says, I got several movies that came in I got to do. Says, would you, can you sub for me with John Denver? And at the time I didn't know much about John except for Country Roads or a couple of songs, but that was about it. And I kept saying, why would he want to conga? I mean, I kept thinking, whatever. But I just listened to the music and I went and I played drums and percussion for him. And I ended up doing it for about 4 years. And I did one CD with him called Different Directions, in which I played the drums and the percussion on all of the CDs. He was a great guy to work for too.
Yeah. Also, our mutual friend that we lost years ago, Tom Rohde, had that gig. And, and I think about that legacy itself, and I think about the time when we found out that John had passed away during that unfortunate day in the plane crash. Musicians, we have to learn to stay out of planes, man. It seems we've lost.
But he was a real good pilot. We used to fly in his jet. Every gig that we did pretty much in the U.S., he would be the pilot on his jet, and he would have a couple of NASA retired pilots for the evenings at night to fly after concerts. But he was really good. It was an experimental plane, and that's what happened, And by the way, to mention real quick, I just got called to do in October the 20th anniversary of his passing up in Aspen. So they're going to do a big thing, and I'm doing the drums and percussion for that. So
who else is on that? Who else is playing on the gig? Do you know?
Well, Jim Horn was with him at that time, and I'm not sure. Probably I'm not sure because they bring different guys from different eras of John's bands. You know what I mean?
Cool.
And so I'm not sure. Maybe Chris, what's his name? I can't think of his name right now. But anyway, some of the guys, if the name comes to me, I'll mention it. But but I know Jim Horn was definitely one. That was, what was really a trip when I went to work for him. The guys that I played with were all Elvis's ex-musicians.
Really?
Elvis Presley. Yeah. James Burton, Glendy Hardin, Jerry Sheff. These guys were Elvis's band. And then me, Puerto Rican, playing conga and drums.
And that's funny they mentioned Jerry Sheff because Jason, his son, formerly with Chicago for 30 years, when he told me about that story. Yeah, man. And it's and you look back at all the situations, like you just said, all these Elvis guys and one crazy Puerto Rican. As I look at the situation too with my legacy with the Beach Boys, and we're doing these recordings in Chicago and in Nashville, and with all the Nashville heavies and the guys that Brent Bears and Brent Bears, Eddie Bears, and Michael Rhodes. And then this crazy Italian from Los Angeles called Jackie Bertoni. So, we fill in and we get in where we fit in, as they say, and it's crazy because, every year, when we have our annual meeting, which is at NAMM. In fact, this year was the first year in 27 years I wasn't able to attend because I'm obviously recovering. And it was, I was bummed, at the same time too, but it's always that cool vibe because every time I see the Garcia family, you guys travel as a unit, which is very, very cool. So I never have to look up and say, Roland, where's your dad? Or Dad, where's Roland? Or Mary, where's your husband? You guys always seem to kind of fall in together. And that was, that's something I miss, just that camaraderie and the unity of getting back together with your friends. And, but 2018, here I come. And Richie, do me a favor, explain to the audience where the genesis of the name Gajate, Gajate, what does that mean and where did it come from?
Well, Gajate is really a last name. That was the name of my real father. My Pedro Gajate was his name. And he's no longer with us either, nor is Garcia dad. They both passed away within the last 5 years. But anyway, Gajate, what was really amazing is that I was born Richard Cuevas. And that was because in those days, my Gajate great-grandfather had not recognized his wife, Right. In those days, people did stuff like that. Anyway, when he gave the name, then my name changed, and everybody in the family changed to Gajate. But that's Gajate. Somebody told me though it's like an Indian word that means to sing, and somebody told me that in Spain there is a town that's almost spelled like Gajate, which is kind of funny.
And let me bring up something too. We did years ago, with our label mate with Vader Percussion. We did a photo shoot, if you remember this, and put this back on. And that photo shoot was an all day event, and that was you were there, and Raul Rico, God bless his soul, and Carl Parazo, and we were all sitting there backstage or in the dressing room getting ready. And I remember I ran backstage. And I said, hey, man, I finally found out what the word Gajate meant. And Raul and Carl looked up, and they said, what? I said, it means bracket. And now, of course, to the listeners out there, Richie is an innovator with LP Music Group, and a lot of his ideas went from brain to paper to actual fruition. And the Gajate bracket is a great bracket in which you can actually put a kick drum beater or a tambourine. He's also got one where you can actually click 3 different ones. You can have 3 different accessories for those who have no more hands but can use their feet. So the funny part about the word Gajate was the fact of bracket. And you guys get a chance to go on to lpmusic.com. Richie launched, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, his own line of congas, and we're going to talk more about that itself and the longevity that he and I have spent. I'm going on 27 years with LP. Richie trumps me on that, no pun intended, and we're going to talk about that and the longevity of that drum company and what it means to us in the industry, because over the years they weren't just a corporation. Well, in the latter years they were. But they always got a chance and always gave us a chance as percussionists to say, what do you want to change on this instrument, or what do you want to, put in production? And a lot of great stuff, finally made it to the forefront. A lot of stuff dropped out too. So, we'll get more involved in that too. So,
okay.
We're very, very thankful. Are you still with Sabian?
Yes.
So Sabian, you're still with Vader.
Yes. I'm Vader, Remo, Gibraltar, DW, LP, like that. I have so many, sometimes I forget who they are. But I'm grateful for every single one of them, that's for sure.
Absolutely. In fact, I always tell everybody else, I get so many calls from young guys going, hey, I want to see how I can get endorsed. I say, guys, the days of endorsement of yesteryear are no longer here. You don't go out looking for a free rig. That's not what it's all about. And someone had asked me, they go, well, how did you get your endorsement with LP? And it was kind of, I don't want to use the word simple, but the fact of the matter is I had a garage full of LP rig and gear, a virtual warehouse myself. So when I went to LP, I looked for the same respect I gave them, one of the same respect from them that I gave them over the years. And that's what locked me in going on 27 years. So, and they want to know everything. They want to make sure they know exactly where their brand is being brought to light. And,
sure. It's because you're representing the company,
in its entirety. So, we're really thankful, and I'm thankful. I can hopefully speak for most of the guys out there that Mr. Don Lombardi, who actually resurrected and brought LP back to life.
Amen. Thank you, Don.
Yes, after LP and actually after Fender punched a hole in the ship. So, but we won't talk about that right now either. So, but nonetheless, and it just shows where we're at. There is that flashing red light, my brother. So again, you guys, this is, these 2 hours, they blow by in rocket ship speed. So we barely even touched the surface. So with that said, when we come back, we're going to pick up where we left off about LP. And we're going to talk about Richie's career, what he's got coming up, and where he's heading to itself. And again, too, I am so privileged to be back on the air with my boy, Richie Gajate Garcia. And we're going to pick it up on segment number 2 when we get back. So we're going to chop it up some more. We're going to get you behind that velvet rope. And you guys can also go on live stream and go onto our website. And you can type in questions if you have, and we'll go ahead and answer that. So with that said, everybody, I want you to sit back, relax, grab us something to drink, and we'll be back on segment 2 at Jackie's Groove. This is Jackie Bertoni, brought to you by the Intertalk Radio Network. You guys don't go anywhere. There's so much more to hear. Stay tuned. So we'll talk momentarily. Adelante. Stay tuned, kids.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Hey, it's Tracy Smith
and Beth Venus
of Girls Talk Rock right here on the Intertalk Radio Network.
Every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific.
Okay, Beth, they know that, but we want you to know that the industry pro's choice is Silver Tiger Production.
SDP is a full-service production agency offering sound, lighting, installations, talent buying, staffing, backline equipment rental, and sales. Kapow!
It's everything in the entertainment performance industry. It's all that.
SilverTigerProduction.com.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove with your host, Jackie Bertoni. Get ready to come behind the scenes with your favorite musicians, candid and raw. Jackie keeps it real as only Jackie can. Are you ready to get your groove on?
In the words of Mr. Tito Puente Jr. and Sr., Huepa! Man, let me just tell you. Huepa, Bobby. Now, let me tell you something, man. Welcome back. Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by InterTalk Radio, and my in-studio guest, my dear friend, Mr. Richie Gajate Garcia. Richie, there's a couple things real quick. Speaking of Tito Puente, the street you grew up on, you said it's changed its name to what now?
Well, I was born on East 110th Street in Manhattan, and the name of that street today is Tito Puente Way.
Respect, brother, respect.
So, and I met Tito, and it was because of him that I saw him. I mean, anytime he came to Puerto Rico, my dad would throw a party, and of course Tito was there, and I used to just stand next to him and watch him play, and I was like amazed. You know, it's like any drummer watching Buddy Rich or something. You know what I mean? It was like, wow, look, I got to do this. You know, so
you have to imitate him. Yeah,
into it.
And you got to imitate him with your sticking your tongue out while you're playing timbales. That's the only way it's going to make sense.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Hey, you know what? That tune we just came on segment 2. What's the genesis of that tune, man? I was rocking out, brother.
Yeah, that's a song. Al McKay was original guitar player of Earth, Wind & Fire.
Absolutely.
Right. So he has his own band called Al McKay All-Stars, and I toured with him for a while. And I played on this whole CD, which is called Al Dente, and it's all Earth, Wind & Fire songs. Some done a little bit differently, and some done like they were done originally. And the CD was only released in Japan. So it's difficult. It was difficult to get because I think you can find it now. But you should check it out because the band, it's like incredible. We did the Mount Fuji Jazz Festival. There's a video of it. And anyway, so I played on the whole CD. I did all those Earth, Wind & Fire songs.
You know, and I got to be honest with you, man, and forgive me for being an old guy, but if you guys get a chance, go onto YouTube and type in Al McKay All-Stars because, Al, you're going to notice him right away. It's the biggest smile, left-handed guitar player. I actually had the privilege of hanging out with Al McKay years ago from my mentor, Emilio Castillo, founder of Tower Power. His wife at the time, Thelma, was actually Al's children's nanny. And Al used to have this mansion up above Franklin. Off of Sunset. And when I went to the house for the first time, Richie, I'm walking into Al McKay's house. And let me just tell you, on the mantle over the fireplace, American Music Awards, Grammy, American Music Awards, in the guest bathroom, they had platinum albums, golden platinum albums on the ceiling. And I remember when I walked out with a smile on my face, I remember Al looked at me and he goes, "Too much?" And I go, "Never, brother, never." But, and so now, again, I love, all my boys are in, John Parrish. John is playing drums with Earth and Fire now. But I got to tell you, I love the whole vibe with Earth, Wind & Fire and Chicago. But when you sign on to YouTube and go to Al McKay All-Stars, that's the old Earth, Wind & Fire. I mean, that is the way it needs to be played to this day. Again, forgive me for being blatant and being honest, but there's something non-commercial about Al McKay. He played it the way it was meant to be played.
Yeah, so I went back and listened to Paulinho played a ton of percussion on that stuff, and I went back to see how he played it so that I could be as authentic as I could, to the as truthful to the tracks as the music. But like I said, some of them were changed a little bit because he wanted us to bring a little bit of our Latin-y kind of thing in there. So if there's a few songs where I do like a samba batucada at the end by myself with whistles and all this stuff on another song, like that. So, but very, very rare was anything changed from the original stuff.
And Richie, I told you earlier during the conversation, I said there was so many nice responses online on social media about the fact that people are excited to hear about Richie Garcia and his background. but so many kudos were sent to you by a lot of students that you have taught over the years and mentoring, and mentioned the fact not only you're this key player, but you got the sweetest heart, and I can contest to that, man. You are you've got a spirit about yourself that just has kept us friends for over these years, man. You know, you've inspired so many people. But let me ask you this question: there's all the people that you've inspired. Who's inspired Richie Gajate Garcia musically?
Oh wow, that's well, of course, like many of us, the elder, shall we say, statements,
Right.
Tito, and when I first started, for me, it was there was a man by the name of Monchito Munoz in Puerto Rico, who used to play around, and he was, you didn't see that many drummers playing and
Right.
percussionists, and when I was young, and he was a good friend of my dad's, and he also taught me a lot. And there was another guy, a band called Los Concertinos, which was a band of two accordions, which were a Cordovox. I don't know, this big accordion that sounded like a synthesizer, and then a drummer called Chupi Porrata, who in those days was the first double bass drum set that I ever saw. And those were my first teachers. And then, of course, coming to the States and seeing a lot of the great players, like Alex Acuna and Luis and
Right.
Kevin Ricard and all these guys, my bros, So we've all shared from all of that kind of stuff. And just through the years, of course, I used to watch Giovanni when he was young on TV playing.
Right.
They call him Pequeño Giovanni. And then I studied some with Changuito, and I went to Cuba with Chuck Silverman and to study a bit over there with some of the guys from Los Papines. And, so I've been all over the place, So, of course, the first mentor in my life was my stepfather, Doel Garcia, and because he was the first one who taught me how to how to just hit a conga. I had no idea other than just part of my culture everywhere in Puerto Rico.
And,
So
I just want to tell you, you know who just walked in the studio just now? My better half, the one responsible for you and I getting back together as you guilted me into getting you. Gabby, come say hi to Richie real quick. Richie, say hi to Cappy.
Hey, Richie.
Hey.
How are you, babe?
I'm fine, Kathy. Thank you so much for grabbing him by the neck and saying, "Call Richie now."
No, I know, honey. We have to do this. I know, sweetheart. No, you have. You guys go. You guys just go too far back not to be on his show. So this is amazing, and I love it.
I remember Jackie coming to gigs over at the Coach House when I was with Hiroshima.
Yes, of course.
Remember? Yeah, and that kind of stuff.
You guys are old, man. You guys are old.
We're old young guys.
There we go, man. It was perfect, man. But she walked in, she's smiling, she's giving me the thumbs up because she hasn't seen me behind my microphones like this in a while. So it's a good feeling all the way around.
All right.
Okay, baby girl, your excuse. Here's your $20.
Thank you.
And Vin, let me just tell you. So talking about the gigs and so on, and the gigs I used to hang out and watch you and so on. But I want you to think back for a second. Do you remember your first paying gig?
Well, you mean like all the way back to Puerto Rico?
Whatever it was, your first professional gig that you got paid on.
Yeah, I was in high school. In those days, the Beatles had come out, and the music started going a little bit on that side, but I stayed towards the Latin side, and I put a little band together called Los Latinos. And the band, I played a little bit of drums. The first concert I ever saw in Puerto Rico was the Young Rascals.
Wow.
And there was Dino Danelli playing this Sahara pink drum set, a Ludwig, and I had to somehow get a hold of that. So all I had was a bass drum, tom-tom, and snare, a hi-hat, and then a conga, and then that my dad had. So I put a little band together, and we started playing parties at the school, and those were my first paying gigs. I had a little band, Los Latinos. If I show you this picture, you won't believe what I looked like then.
Text it to me. Because, you think about it, unfortunately, living in California or even nationwide, there's so many great jazz clubs that have closed. The only things that are thriving right now, we lost Vitello's not too long ago, is the baked potato. I mean, like I was telling Lenny Castro, our brother also, how many times that we had sat there, and I don't want to use the word high, but across the street from that at the Carl's Jr. parking lot. And like Lenny said, look at my stomach. He goes, you can answer your own question. So, and I want to jump back just for 1 second. We talked about the fact that now that DW or Drum Workshop Incorporated now is the sole owner of LP Music. When we were at the factory in Oxnard, earlier last year or middle last year. It was kind of it was bittersweet, Richie, because of all the years you and I have had the opportunity to go to Garfield, New Jersey, and the 50-year-old warehouse there that was basically bursting at the seams with product from LP and Martin Cohen and Steve Negocian, and I mean it's bittersweet, and that. But when you walk into Oxnard, the state-of-the-art facility, and you see the LP logo emblazoned up in the rafters, kind of a weird feeling, man. To see that logo so close to home now.
For sure.
And the fact of the matter is, like, the only thing about missing NAMM 2017 is the plethora of phone calls, and this is not boasting, but just from other percussion companies asking if I'd be interested in, moving over. And I said to them, you guys, I really appreciate this band, but I'm as loyal as a dog. LP treats me to this day as if I'm a Richie or a Roland Garcia, where you're seen by millions. And thankfully I've been on enough recordings that have been heard by millions. But I make sure that I give them the kudos and the props that they deserve. So, and you guys get a chance also, go to LP Music and go to their archive of videos, or go to YouTube. I want you to check out Richie Gajate Garcia. He's got a great lineage of videos with LP that spotlights Richie's background as a true clinician and a teacher, for the lack of. And he's got some great solos together, or programs together with him and another dear friend of ours, Kevin Ricard.
Yeah,
and,
that was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun, man. So, patronize this, man. Go learn. A lot of these young percussionists that are starting out, they want to turn in. They all want to be Gio. They all want to be these guys that are just beating the conga heads like a redheaded stepchild. And it's not that way, man. It's like any true instrument, man. You've got to build a foundation before you put the house on top of it. And, and that's the whole idea. So I'm not going to give any extra work to Richie, but if you have any questions, man, we'll talk about how to get a hold of Richie Garcia later on. And if there's a possibility, if he's in teaching or what he's going to be featured next as in a clinic, you definitely have to check it out. So with that said, I'm going to move on for 1 second. So we talked about that. When I use the word musical influences, obviously that's what we learned growing up. But is there anybody out there right now, and for the lack of the word music business, and I'm not talking about Diana and Sting and all the of our genre, but are there any young acts right now that really knock you out? I mean, I can tell you right now, my favorite is Bruno Mars, because the man is he's a true talent.
Well, the thing I don't know if you know, but Bruno's dad is Puerto Rican too, and he's a conga player.
Absolutely. In fact, Bruno's uncle, Johnny Valentine, is singing now with Henry Capono from Sicilian Capono's group. So it's you talk about just growing up, in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Yeah.
But just that true funk, and thing I love about him, Bruno Mars, is that he's up slamming hard with a live band. That's what he owns me. So, but back to that question itself. So, who knocks you out? Who gets you?
Well,
your attention?
With you, of course, Bruno Mars. I dig a lot because he even though he's people think of him as new, he's been around for a long time, playing in Hawaii for those ships and the tourists and all that stuff. And that's where they got all that stuff together. His brother used to be a policeman, and now he's the drummer in his band.
Yes, yes.
So that kind of thing. But the today a band. I don't know if it's really recent, but. I just love the way these three guys, the Dirty Loops. I love these guys. I mean, the drumming and the the arrangements, how they've taken popular songs and done them in a very hip way, because they combine some fusion with the pop, with the rock, all of that. The singing is amazing. So I love their recordings for sure. I still. It's so hard because I play so many different styles of music. Of the younger bands, I like what's his name? He's an actor also now. I can't think of his name. I'm the worst with the names. I always call my sons by different names because I forget their own names.
That's normality.
But anyway, it's hard to mention because I jump all over the place listening to things. See, my favorite kind of stuff to listen to is I love Brazilian music because of all of the percussion and that kind of thing. And of course, I love salsa music because I'm Latino and I grew up with it. And of the young, I can't think of his name right now. That I like. Maybe it'll come to me later.
I'm thinking with you.
But like I said, the younger groups, they aren't that many. As they have a band and they do that kind of a thing, you know what I mean? I love it. It's again, like I said, it's hard for me because I'm terrible with the names of the bands. When I hear the songs, I go like, oh yeah, them. I love them. The one that really knows the names of the bands is my son, Roland. I'm always asking him, who should I listen to now? And he'll say, listen to these guys and listen to these.
Exactly.
And sometimes I like specific songs. Chili Peppers, for example, the drummer,
Chad Smith.
Chad used to be a student of mine at MI in my Latin class. Crazy. Every so often I'll see him at NAM or something. Go like, hey Richie, man, I remember being in your Latin class. Syncopation stuff and whatever. So it's cool. It's amazing to run into people that were in a class of mine or something, and then for them doing great. So,
hey Richie, quick question, brother. Why it's on my mind. If you weren't playing drums and percussion, what instrument would you think you'd be playing?
Probably guitar or piano.
Okay, why?
Because of it was actually my biggest regret in college. I loved the harmonies, and every time I go to write a song, the harmony thing drives me nuts because I studied it, but I of course didn't keep it up because of the drumming and the percussion. And I love guitars. I really love acoustic guitars. And again, like I said, I love the Brazilian style of playing guitar and flamenco style, and I just love listening to it. And I actually did a CD. It's called Nations 5, where there's 3 guitars, drums, and percussion, and I have every guy is from a different country in the band, that in the CD Beautiful. That we did, So I just love that sound, and as far as a horn instrument, my favorite horn has always been a trombone. I just love the way trombones and Latin bands sound and that kind of thing. Absolutely. Hey man,
and we're going to pick this up because again, scratching the surface, we haven't even got the itch yet. Got so much more to talk about. So when we trail out of segment number 2, going into number 3 with my in-studio guest, Mr. Richie Gajate Garcia, as I'm ready to sneeze here. We're going to get back. We're going to touch on some more things there. We're going to remember each other's names and the artists we're talking about. So you guys, stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We're going to pick this up. There's so much more to find out about Richie and his influences and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So with that said, don't go anywhere. Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by New Talk Radio Network. Stay tuned. Segment number 3 on the way.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Girls are talking rock again.
And people are listening.
Today we're talking bands.
Let's talk promotion. Red Giant promo, graphics, EPKs, video, photos, social media, and brand building using content marketing.
But let's talk studio at CCMA, which is events, rehearsal, tour prep, piano, guitar, voice, rock band, lessons, workshops, and clinics. Yeah.
Both proud sponsors of Girls Talk Rock.
Well, get the lowdown on these services and contact me, Tracy, at girlstalkrock.com.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove with your host, Jackie Bertoni. Get ready to come behind the scenes with your favorite musicians, candid and raw. Jackie keeps it real as only Jackie can. Are you ready to get your groove on?
Talk about feeling like you're taking a coast drive down the highway. That's the kind of music you want to listen to, and that's brought to you by my dear friend, my in-studio guest, Mr. Richie Gajate Garcia. And before we get going, Richie, I just want to say hi and thank you, and that we're overly indebted to our sponsors that keep this crazy ship afloat. And I'm going to mention these people right now, as we talked about before. Our dear friends, Richie, I know you're familiar with this, SIR Studio Instrument Rentals. The greatest company for backline and rehearsal needs. You can reach them at sir-usa.com. The crazy crew at Pitbull Audio, Calvin Lee and the gang, where you can reach them at pitbullaudio.com. You know, where they just want you to play it loud. And people that I'm real biased to, Vader Percussion. That's Vader.com, VATER.com, who's been giving me my drumsticks for over 20 years. Richie's even longer. And also to Drum Workshop Incorporated, DW.com, and John Good, and Don Lombardi, and Derek Zimmerman, and Jerry Zacharias, and Terry Tilapia, all my friends at OP. Thank you so much, guys, for your belief and keeping us going here. So with that said, let's get back into the swing of things. You know, when we took a break, Richie asked me, hey, Jackie, what do you want to talk about next? Let me ask you this question, Richie. What do you want to talk about?
How about, the education?
Please.
You know, yeah. Well, you know, I've been teaching I taught at MI first from 1989 to 1999 for 10 years. And it was really an amazing experience, because one thing I really learned was that I learned more from the students than the students learned from me, because I had to figure out how to get them to understand what I was trying to teach them, you know, and it was very enriching, which helped me get into writing books, and I have 4 books now, and that was really a very big blessing. I also went from there to teach at LAMA, or now it's called LACMA, in Pasadena, and now I'm back at MI again teaching, percussion and Latin drumming. So that's something that I've always thought that the day I no longer, shall we say, travel performing or whatever, right, I'll always continue teaching.
You know, and Richie, let me ask this question, bring that up too, because I get this question asked all the time. What do you prefer? Do you prefer being in the studio? Do you prefer teaching, or do you prefer that lights that light up and they're introducing Miss Diana Ross, or whoever it is that you're playing with? What's your preference? Do you have?
I see them in different ways, because I see that the studio is the way in which you can archive your existence as a musician, right? You know, because people can always go back and listen to something you may have done when you're no longer here. The teaching for me is my way of giving back to the students whatever I've learned through my experiences in music. Right. And the live playing is the joy of being able to express yourself in front of a crowd and with some great musicians and travel the world and see the world. So I like all 3 of them. So this isn't there are times when you're there are guys that sometimes are in the studio all the time and they miss being out on the road, shall we say, because you know how studio is, you play this, do it again, let's fix this part, blah, blah, blah. But when you're touring is like the show. Let's go, and that fire of playing live. I mean, I love, because as a percussionist, I've gotten a chance to play with some of the great drummers of the world. I'm
right there with you,
and that's been a great education for me since I play drums, to see, to play next to Vinny Colaiuta or Greg Bissonette or Dave Weckl. And I watch these guys and go like, man, how do you do that? So that's always been a great education for myself. And that shows the humbleness of yourself, myself, when we're sitting there and we're starstruck by the
the guys behind the trap set. I mean, again, I'm right there with you, working with the best, working with the country's best, meaning Dan Needham, from Michael McDonald's band, or Eddie Bears, or Vinny, or David Garibaldi, as I said, and with John J.R. Robinson. I mean, it goes down the line, and that's a good segue, because with that said, let me ask you this question. There's a plethora of well-known bands that you work with, artists itself, and I'm not going to have you single any of them out, but I'm going to ask you a question if I can, and I want you to tell me why. And so let's start out with the beautiful Miss Ross, Diana Ross. Okay. Why do you love playing with her?
Well, because she's history. Funny story. When I was in Puerto Rico, first starting in music, a friend of mine, his father was the doctor, and his father bought him a drum set. I said, the Beatles had just come out, and Supremes and that kind of thing. And I had never played drums, but I went over to his house, and he said, "Hey, you want to check this out? Here, let me play a song. Play to it." The first song that I played was "Stop in the Name of Love."
Wow.
Which is funny. And the second one was Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, which was Sherry Baby. But anyway, and now to think that later in life I went and I played with them, I mean, that it's an amazing, shall we say, experience to go through. And playing with her, like I said, she's a legend. There was music that I grew up with, and to be able to play with them, especially coming from an island where I never knew what my future was going to be, it was a very growing experience in many different ways, So Miss Ross was really, really great. And now my son is playing with her, so it's like it's been in the family. I played 14 years with her.
With the Governor Jerry Brown on drums, man. I mean, Jerry
Brown. I played with different drummers: Jerry Brown, Moise Lucas, and what's this? I can't. When it comes to me, I'll tell you. But anyway, several different drummers, and again, a great experience for me to watch them.
Next artist, Sting. Why?
Well, Sting was the only way that what happened, because I didn't tour with him. But what happened with that was that I played on the track of on the music for the film Emperor's New Groove. Okay, and Sting wrote the music to that. So if you recall, Phil Collins also did the music to Tarzan. They were all animated films.
Right.
So Sting came to California to do the premiere of that, and to do some shows like Jay Leno and that kind of thing. So we rehearsed, and he put the band with Vinny on drums. Luis Conte and I did percussion. I mean, it was like Nathan East on bass. The different singers that sang with him or sang with Phil Collins like that. They were all in the band. So. I got to do that, and I got to play with him, and then we rehearsed for a week. So you know what I mean? I got to hang out with him. We played, then we would play some other songs, and then we went on TV and did Jay Leno. We did the premiere at the El Capitan Theater, and that's it. So it was about a 3 weeks, shall we say, experience.
Interesting. Let me ask you this question. How about Mr. Phil Collins?
The way that happened was, Luis has been his main percussion, Luis Conte, percussionist, and he did Phil Collins did all of the music to Tarzan, the animated film. So they were going on tour to promote the film for Disney, and Phil told Luis, I need another percussionist to play because there's too much percussion on this stuff. So then Luis recommended me, and I ended up playing with him. And then what happened was I did that. We went all over the place, Japan, Germany, different places. And then what happened was then Luis took off with a different tour, and then Phil wrote the music to Brother Bear. So I did that tour, and I was the percussionist on that. So I toured with him by myself without Luis.
How did you and Luis figure out your parts, by the way, of not stepping on each other?
Well, what happened was Luis stayed with congas and timbales and stuff, and I was doing djembes and like zurdo drums, big drums, cool. Gongs and stuff like that. So and I had and some songs I had timbales too, in case they wanted congas and timbales playing at the same time. So and then the other stuff was small hand percussion stuff.
Was Phil playing drums on that gig, or was Chester playing on that? Who was playing on the drums?
No, it was Chester. Chester was playing drums, and Phil was singing and doing. And then it was really great. We were doing an unplugged thing of all of the music of the Tarzan film, and they didn't want drums. So Phil said to me first, "Man, can we get some congas and whatever?" And there, what I did was, I remember I was playing cajon because I've been playing cajon with Cecilia Noel's band every Monday night at the Baked Potato. And I said, Phil, I do this thing with a cajon and a tambourine on my foot, and I can play a cymbal and stuff. He says, let's check it out. So I ended up doing a whole thing. We did a VH1. We did a bunch of gigs and stuff, and it was just me with the rest of the band playing. And again, too, there's still that awe-inspiring situation. Like you said a little while ago, you grew up listening to these musicians, and next thing you know, you're playing with them, and it's great to be on the road, and it's great to get the accolades from the people worldwide. But again, too, when it comes down and it's all said and done, myself personally, I live in the studio. I love the studio because when it comes down, generations to come, we're going to be gone, but our music will be emblazoned. We'll be there. That's the beautiful thing. And when you look at that, when you look around and you think to yourself, I mean, I know how I get every once in a while. I'll get down. And then I look at my walls and the stuff that I've earned around me with artists. It still blows me out of the water, man. That they came to you asking for your talents, and I have to give a lot of kudos to my mentor, which is Paulinho da Costa. Paulinho is the reason why I work with the Beach Boys, and it was on a recommendation. So that was there. But again, someone I've always had on my bucket list. You've already checked that off of yours. Working with Mr. Stevie Wonder. How beautiful was that? Well, Stevie, again, I didn't play with him live, but I recorded with him. There's an album called A Time to Love with India, what's her name? India Irie sang and stuff. And Monyongo was actually, see, this is the beautiful thing about having great friends and people that respect you as a person and as a musician, that they're comfortable enough to recommend you to work along with them or to do it instead of them, and know that you're going in there to be a professional, do the job, and you know what I mean, and do that. And Monyongo and Monyongo got me on the gig to record with Stevie. And what's really amazing, Monyongo got my son Roland to play with Stevie live. So it's a trip.
Yeah, I had Monyongo and your son together in the LP interview.
Yeah.
And I think that was really cool, and it's really cool you talk about Stevie because it's gone viral. I hate to use that term, but a friend of mine, actually, her name is Kat Ellis. She's an amazing photographer. It was, I think it was Saturday at the Marriott stage, the center stage, lobby stage at NAMM, and where there was this young acoustic guitar player up on stage, and Stevie Wonder just walks up on stage with his stepbrother, and the kid's playing Superstition on acoustic guitar. I mean, are you going to tell Stevie no? Stevie gets up there and, of course, kills it. I mean, what a surprise for the audience. And if anybody knows Stevie Wonder, Stevie is all over NAMM. And just for this kid, it brought him to the forefront of, his first major gig, for a NAMM audience. And then Stevie Wonder comes up and belts out Superstition with him. So you get a chance to check that out also.
That was the beautiful thing, that when we were in the studio, he was, so down to earth and funny. He's a funny guy.
Yes.
And he was joking around. One time I was standing next to him and while the people were saying something or showing him something, and he just reaches and grabs me by the neck and he says, I know you're there. Because
I love it.
I went like, okay, you win. It was a lot of fun.
And you have to talk about great musicians. I wanted to just take a second here, and Richie, you know him very well also, and I wanted to say sending prayers and blessings for continued recovery for the master David Garibaldi, who sat on the drum throne with Tower Power for 48 years, who was involved in an accident about 2.5 weeks ago.
Yeah, man.
At front of Yoshi's, and along with Mark VW, bassist, who was actually the bassist for Pops Escovedo and Peter Michaels' band, who was subbing in for Rocco Prestia on bass, in which they were both struck by an Amtrak train in front of Yoshi's.
That's incredible, but thank the Lord they're still with us.
Yes,
they're recovering, but
it is. And if you guys get a chance, search it down. Anything on GoFundMe, and put in David Garibaldi and Mark VW. That's going to be his for Van Vigen, his last name, and see if you can donate to the cause. We'd appreciate that by all means, man. We're not doing this for our health. We're doing this to take care of our families. So, with that said, David,
can I tell you a quick story about David Garibaldi?
Please.
Years ago, when I was with Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons, Tower Power, we were up in Tahoe, and Tower Power opened for Frankie Valli. And that was the first time that I was kind of like playing the congas with one hand and cowbell with my foot and that kind of thing. I had the Gajate bracket didn't exist. I had just built this thing to play so I could do it because they needed it for the music. And David, after the gig, comes up to me and says, "Man," he says, I've seen conga players, but I never seen anybody playing all of that together. He says, "If anything, keep in that direction because that'll make you different from everybody else." And I'll always remember that, And he says, I told you that? I go, "You sure did," because I remember till today. So he was great. And then, I got together with him a few times when he lived here in L.A. and stuff like that. Yeah.
Was that gig, was that a Harrah's gig? Because that's where they always seem to play. Yeah. Yeah. You just talk about going back. And then again, David Garibaldi was the first drummer I'm going to play second drummer. The first professional drummer I played was with Bob Wilson with Seawin when I was working with them. And then I transferred from playing congas with Bob Wilson from Seawin. And then my second professional huge gig was playing alongside of David Garibaldi at the Coach House. Strike that, at the Golden Bear in Huntington Beach. So you talk about getting your ass kicked hard, but you pick it up. And I tell those young musicians out there too, you know what? Try not to play with musicians that are at your stature. Play with musicians that are much better than you are, if you get the chance to do so, because and that makes you learn quickly, or scares the hell out of you, one of the two. So you keep doing that itself. You keep honing your instruments, like Richie said beforehand. He rehearses every day. He plays every day. Likewise, to keep your hands going, keep your mind, and keeping yourself relevant. And speaking of relevance, Richie, can you believe this, man? We're through our first hour. And
wow, already?
Again, every time I do an interview, people go, "Wow, 2 hours," and at the end of it, they go, "We could have done 5 hours more." So that's without question.
Do we go for lunch now?
Yeah, we're going to go for lunch and a pee-pee break, man. So with that said, you guys don't go anywhere. We're going to be back on segment number 4 with my in-studio guest, master percussionist / drummer, my dear friend, Mr. Richie Gajate Garcia. You guys, any other questions, go ahead and email us. Let us know what's on your mind, and we'll get the answers over to Richie. So with that said, guys, don't go anywhere. Go take a little bit of a break. We'll be back on segment number 4. I have a total of 6 segments with my in-studio guest, again, Richie Gajate Garcia. And Richie, when you pick up stuff, you can ask some more questions on the break, and it's your show, brother. It's got my name on it, but it's your episode. So let's put 2 and 2 together.
Thank you again for having me. Yeah,
always. You guys don't go anywhere. Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, Intertalk Radio Network. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay tuned.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
EnterTalk Radio, you're in to all things music.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove with your host, Jackie Bertoni. Get ready to come behind the scenes with your favorite musicians, candid and raw. Jackie keeps it real as only Jackie can. Are you ready to get your groove on?
Everybody, welcome back. Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by the EnterTalk Radio Network. You guys, I'm having a great time, man. And if you're having a great time, and my God, how could you not be? Do yourselves a favor, man, and go on to iTunes or Google Play for Android and download our easy-to-use app. There's 2 words. First one being EnterTalk, second one being radio. Download that free app and take us everywhere where you can't go with us live. This year, and check out a plethora of our shows on EnterTalkRadio.com. There's something for everybody, trust me. But what you're listening to right now, you're listening to Jackie's Groove, and I'm so thankful for all the artists that I've had on to date, and I just want to thank each and every one of them for the belief. And the artist that's believing in me right now is my good friend of mine, Richie Gajate Garcia. You know, Richie, that whole idea of thanking the people who've been around us, people who that line our pockets, that help us pay our mortgage and so on. They're there because of our talent, what we can bring to the forefront. I mentioned earlier that we've both been with LP for a number of years, but there's something you've got going on with LP that I don't, and most people don't have the privilege and the pleasure of, but you have your own line of congas and percussion. You want to talk about that and educate the people out there?
Well, for sure. A lot of people, of course, as you mentioned earlier, know about the Gajate bracket, which was an idea that I had that I took to Martin Cohen in New Jersey. And I told him, I said, this is something that percussionists could really use. I wasn't even thinking much about drummers doing it, but more like percussionists, an extra tool. And he just said, let's give it a shot. And that's when I said, but the main requirement I want is that it's got to be named after me. So I wanted to be called the Gajate bracket. And he said, no problem, we can do that. So that was a real big blessing. Later on, my conga line, I first had a signature line that was very colorful and had an amazing artwork on it, but it was just stuff that they added to already existing conga. And it was the classic conga, but with all this artwork on it. And it wasn't selling well because it was too personalized. It wasn't too general. And so I went back to LP. I said, look, I want to have a drum. I want to have a conga that is made of something maybe a wood never used. I want to have something different in the design of the tuning. That kind of stuff. And they told me, well, Richie says, we were looking into this wood that's never been used on a conga before, called Romanian tilia, which is used for making furniture and making upright basses and guitars and violins and stuff like that. And they said it's very, very light. And I said, well, that would be perfect because most congas are heavy, especially if you ever pick up the Palladium LP congas.
Giovanni, yeah.
My Lord, but I said that would be great. People would like the fact that they're light, and then I said, how about the tuning? Can we change anything? I said, years ago, Slingerland used to have a top tuning conga. That was kind of like one of my first endorsement was Slingerland. When I was in college.
Right.
And they had a conga that you tuned from the top, but the rest of the drum, unfortunately, wasn't that good. But the idea of the top tuning was cool. So they said, well, we're actually experimenting with something like that. I said, great, I want that. And then So the three elements of that were the fact that it was very light, second the tuning, and then the wood that was never used before. So that became the series. And then they asked me about a color, and I kept looking and looking for colors, and I say, man, I don't find a name that I like. And I remembered a drink that is they do make in the summer in Puerto Rico called Mavi. And it's kind of like a brownish, yellowish kind of thing. And I presented that to them and said, like, man, that's great. Let's try that. And that's how the color came about. And also they wanted, I said, I like some rings on it, but I don't want it to be metal rings because after a while they loosen up and they rattle. Right. So then I said, can we do the rings, but within the wood? And they did. And that's the fruition of the drum, thanks to Victor Filinovich from LP, who worked on that with me and actually helped make it possible.
Richie, what's really cool too? I'm going to jump in here real quick. When I did the interview, sometime last year, if you guys go on to jackiesgroove.com and go on to episodes on demand, I did a great thing at DW with Roland, with Muñongo, with Felipe Fraga, with Joey De Leon. And the cool thing about this, I don't know if you knew this at all, Richie, but when we asked a lot of the LP artists, which congas they were using, you know what? About 4 or 5 of them, man, mentioned your new drums. And,
yeah,
I mean, that is cool, man. That's respect from brothers to brothers, man.
Amen. Because, I just my thought has always been not so much because it has my name on it. I just always wanted to have a product or something that hopefully was my idea, whatever, but something that I knew people would want to use and like. And so it's become that. The sales have been really great on the drum. Everybody loves them. The fact they're light. I get messages from all over the world. People saying like, man, I love these drums. If there's a percussionist in New York, Samuel Torres. Samuel is like a Giovanni. He's from Colombia, but he plays like 7-8 congas, whatever. And he does a lot of symphonic type pieces with orchestra and everything, playing all these congas. And he told LP and sent me a message that he found that my drums held the best tuning that he ever saw on a drum for his playing.
Richie, are they being shipped with naturals or the fiber skins from Remo?
They're shipped with natural. And one thing I tell everybody is that for recording natural, they sound fantastic, but live they don't have the volume that you would want. So like I always put plastic for live, and I use for recording natural skin.
And for the listeners out there, we're talking about heads, the conga heads itself. And Richie, now just educate myself also along with the listeners. But with those the congas that are out. Available in quinto, conga, and tumba, or super tumba? What is the configuration?
It's just quinto, conga, tumba, and a djembe.
And then bongo also.
And bongo, yeah. So that's the series right there.
Yeah, you guys can check that out at Sweetwater Music. You can check that out at lpmusic.com. Or just go to, we'll talk more about how to get a hold of Richie later on. And there's always a link to where you can get this product out, so on. And let's step out of LP for a second. Let's step in. Oh, by the way, how long has the Gajate been in production?
Oh, wow. I don't know, 25 years, 30 years maybe.
There you go. Yeah. And let's talk about Sabian and the Sabor symbol. What did you have to do with that?
Well, years ago, the guy that was the rep in L.A., Pat Rogers.
Right.
He told me, he said, Richie, the company wants to come up with something for percussionists. What do you think? I said, well, for timbales or something. I said, well, I think a cymbal that you can crash but also ride on and has a bigger bell would be ideal because of, when you play with cowbells and stuff, you want, a cymbal that doesn't ring too much, but you can still do that kind of thing. And so they tried a few designs, and then they said, Richie, we got to come up with a name for this thing. What do you think? So I suggested like 3 names, like El Sabor, La Playa, El Monte, I gave them 3 or 4 names, and they picked El Sabor. So if you see ever there was years ago when they were in NAMM, they would put a video, and then they mentioned how I had something to do with the creation of that symbol, with the idea of it.
Longevity, baby.
Go ahead. Huh?
No, I'm saying longevity and relevance, man. That's what it's all about.
Amen. And then there's another cymbal now called picante, which Carl Perazzo and I came up with, which is for percussionists that you don't have to hit it with a stick. With your hand, you just touch it and it goes shh. It just completely, and you can write on it with sticks, but you can do it just with your hands. It's really a nice cymbal.
More like the sound of a sizzle cymbal at all, or?
No. It has, as if you were playing, you know how you take a regular cymbal and play with mallets?
Right.
Of that. You can do that with the cymbal, but with your fingers.
I got to check that out. Again, that was on the Sabian Wall of Cymbals at NAMM, which, again, I missed this year. So
yeah, it says picante is called. Yeah.
And then let me ask you another question. Just going back to our drumstick company, Vader. Do you have your own line of sticks on Vader also? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, you know what's funny? I just was talking with Alan Vader at NAMM show this past week or so.
Right.
And I said, Alan, how long have I been? You know, I think I said, Richie, you were my first endorser. I said, what? I go, yeah. He says, you were the first guy. And I was walking by, and I didn't like the sticks that Vic Firth had for timbales. I mean, nothing against Alex's sticks, but it was that red stick. And I tried it for a while. When I would play it, it would leave these red marks on the head.
Everywhere.
I didn't like that. So I started buying sticks at the Pro Drum Shop on Vine Street across from the Musicians Union. Right. And they had a stick the stick just said Pro Drum Shop. That's it. I thought, well, they make it themselves, but I used to like it. So Alan he said, what stick do you use? I said, well, it's probably one that you don't even know about because it's I buy it at the Pro Drum Shop. He says, we make that stick. You go, you make it? Yeah. He says, we used to be the company for Vic Firth, for Zildjian, for Tama, all those companies, but we decided to go on our own and make our own brand. He says, well, would you consider endorsing our sticks? And we'll design a stick that you want, the way you want it. So I say, yeah. So I went with them, and then I gave him the idea for my timbale stick. And mine is the only one. When you go to their site, it's just a plain stick, but my stick has a grip on it, a yellow grip, and but you have to request it when you want it from them. And that's because since I play drums too, I like a little bit thicker stick, but I don't like the timbale sticks to be too thick. So anyway, we came up with the stick, which is in between the 7th, 8th, and the half-inch stick, and everybody loves it. And I have that, and I have I came up with a couple of other things, a beater for the Gajate bracket, these mallets, and etc. So I'm really grateful to all these companies that have listened to my ideas, and they've given it a shot. And some of them have come to fruition, which is really great.
You know, and I just think back years ago, I was at NAMM, I don't remember how, 20 years ago, and I was getting ready to sign with, actually Kelly Firth was really busting my balls that day, wanting to know if I was going to resign. And I had that same feeling, nothing against Alex, but that red timbale stick, it marred everything. Everything was red, it looked like my football helmet growing up, playing football.
They changed it. Yeah, they changed it now. The tip of it is wood now, and the rest of it is red. But in those days, it was all red, and I just hated to see red. I don't like to see my drums all dirty with marks and stuff. So,
and I remember that day like it was yesterday because Carl Parazo, timbalero for Santana, and Raul, they both grabbed me by the hand. They said, "Come with us, man." So they took me over to the Vader drumstick booth, and at the time, John Docks was the A&R rep over there. Yeah. You remember John?
Yeah, sure.
And so he said, "Hey, John, this is Jackie Bertoni. He plays with blah, 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 blah." And he says, "Yeah, man, I'm familiar with you." And he goes, and Carl goes, "Yeah, he really likes the drumsticks." And of course, I played a pair of Vader sticks earlier in the week, and I really did like them. It was more like the Yambu Jazz. And so I just remember I said, he goes, and Carl, of course, if you know Carl out there, he's crazy. And he goes, "Jackie wants to be with Vader." So I guess I had no choice. And he said, yeah. So yeah. John reached down, and he goes, "Let me get you a contract." He comes back up, but there's no contract in his hand. It's just his handshake.
Yeah.
And he goes, "This is our contract." He goes, "We shake hands. And if you've already been playing Vader, you've already endorsed our product." So I can't imagine going anywhere else. I'm very, very favorable. In fact, Chad Brandolini, Alan, and Ron Vader, they made my Jackie's Groove sticks. So and
those are great, man. Yeah, they make great sticks. They're really great sticks. So. I like you said, I'm also on a handshake, and till today, they have honored it. So it's been really great, a great relationship.
Man, you know what? It's crazy if you think about all the people that we've crossed paths with, and the Juan Carlos Quinteros, who actually Juan Carlos was my first interview back last January.
Wow.
And it's like,
I
had so many percussionists, drummers. In fact, Florentino Buenaventura, the CEO of our network, and Paul Berezetsky, who you spoke to earlier, they said we should change the name to Jackie's Groove to Jackie's Drummers World or Drummers Groove. And you get that way. You get so spoiled, and you want to make sure that you promote us, our friends, our brothers out there, and that's what we're all about. That's what Jackie's Groove is all about.
I congratulate you on that, because
thank you, brother.
Looking at the list of people you've interviewed, you've brought to light some percussionists that deserve to be, mentioned, that unfortunately sometimes nobody knows that they exist.
Exactly. And that's the benefit of the show, is bringing up. Not everybody knows who Jackie Bertoni is, but they know the groups that he's played with. The name that's on the marquee, and
sure.
And that's the whole idea of doing it. We've got, if you were proud and shocked by the shows we had last year, wait to see what's coming up in 2017. I'll bring that to light as we get going on too. But when we get back, I'm going to talk about some stuff like something we love to do as musicians is eat.
Okay.
as Latinos, as Italians, and so I always ask these questions. So as much as Richie Garcia has traveled the country, I want to get back and I want to let the people know out there. What is your favorite type? What's your cuisine that you love?
Okay.
And more about walking in your shoes and what it's like to spend the day on the road with you. If you so choose that. And then average time on the road. And of course, I ask everybody else your favorite place to be in the world, and most everybody says home. And of course, there is no place like home, man. So,
well, sure.
Yeah. And when we get back to it, we're going to talk about, if you just kind of put in your back pocket there, your favorite restaurant, the type of foods that you like, countries and cities. And which brought you back there. And when we get back, we'll talk more about that itself. And again, too, just be thankful, man, that we're at our advanced age and we're still doing what we love. And because you stop and think about it, Richie, what we do is pretty freaking incredible, and we get paid for it.
Amen to that.
And it's better than saying, "Would you like fries to go with that shake?" And so then we'll talk about more things about achievements and stuff that you want to talk about. So with that said, we're getting that flashing red light again. I can't believe that we're coming out of segment number 4, going into 5. It's blowing by. Yeah, man.
Amen.
And it's as I'm bending over there and picking something up. So when we get back on this next segment, we're going to pick it up. We're going to try to wrap it up. We're going to talk about nothing in politics. We're going to talk about the music business or the lack thereof, and get your opinion on it, and get these old folks' opinions of what's going on. So with that said, everybody, don't go anywhere. We're coming out of 4 into 5. Out of a total of 6 segments with my in-studio guest, percussionist, drummer extraordinaire, my dear friend, Mr. Richie Gajate Garcia. Jackie's Groove, brought to you by the Intertalk Radio Network. I'm Jackie Bertoni. You guys don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be back. And, as I said before, when you have any questions, go onto our live feed or go ahead and email me at jackie@jackiesgroove.com, and I will put this out to Richie. And, Richie, think about what you want to talk about, what you don't want to talk about, and we'll pick it up on that segment. So with that said, I'm buying some time. All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the short message. I'm waiting for that bumper music to come up. Had a little too much coffee this morning, so here we go. Listen live, and we're out right now, guys. Stay tuned.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Hey, it's Tracy Smith
And Beth Venus
of Girls Talk Rock right here on the Intertalk Radio Network.
every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific.
Okay, Beth, they know that, but we want you to know that the industry pro's choice is Silver Tiger Production.
SDP is a full-service production agency offering sound, lighting, installations, talent buying, staffing, backline equipment rental, and sales. Kapow!
It's everything in the entertainment performance industry. It's all that. SilverTigerProduction.com.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove with your host, Jackie Bertoni. Get ready to come behind the scenes with your favorite musicians, candid and raw. Jackie keeps it real as only Jackie can. Are you ready to get your groove on?
Everybody, welcome back. Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Radio Network. Hey guys, you know what? That song, those percussive grooves, are brought to you by my in-studio guest, Mr. Richie Gajate Garcia. You guys, I want to take a couple seconds to also want to bring up the fact that always throwing shouts out. The bumper music that you hear coming in and out of my show is written by and played by no other than my dear friend Rob the Funkster Bacon, who is with years with Boney James, with Chaka Khan, and most notably with Arsenio Hall as a guitar player. So, Rob, thank you for the groove, man. I appreciate that. So, with that said, we're talking about recording with Richie, and all the albums that we've been on. But one thing we haven't touched on, what people may or may not know, but Richie, you've done a lot of film, a lot of soundtracks and so on. You want to talk about that? Go ahead and brag upon yourself.
Well, I did a lot of work with composer Alan Silvestri, and then with I did some with John Williams and things like that. I played on the Mummy Returns. I played on Jungle to Jungle. I played on Italian Job. I played on the Maid in Manhattan. I played on tons of, not tons of film, but a lot of films. And that was an amazing experience in itself, too, because sometimes there would be 10 percussionists in the orchestra. When I went with Alex to London to do the Mummy Returns, and it was an amazing experience to be over there with so many, different percussionists and the English orchestra, the London Symphony playing. I mean, it was like incredible. And these experiences have also opened up a whole different kind of experience as a percussionist, because now it's important to be able to read music and to interpret what the composer wants, not just what you feel should be there, which is sometimes what they allow us to do as percussionists. So all of that has been an amazing experience. And till today, to sometimes turn the TV on and see a film that I played on has really been a great feeling of accomplishment in a different aspect of the music business, just like it was when I had a chance to be the sub on The Lion King on the live play, touring tour. So I did about 87 shows in a row. So incredible. Wow. Yeah, and that was something, to be on a balcony playing percussion, looking at a composer in the pit while I'm inside the audience. As all those things are amazing experiences that help you grow as a musician, and also it teaches you how to adapt to any kind of a situation.
And is there been a favorite soundtrack that you played on that you lent your percussion to or drums to?
What do you mean in the movies?
Yes.
Yeah. The Mummy Returns stuff was one that I really dug, and another one called Robots. I played on Robots, and it's a lot of times it's hard to hear the stuff that you played. But when I did Familia Perez, there was a lot more percussion because it was a story about a family coming from Cuba and stuff. So they played more of the Latin stuff, And so those were, I would say, some of the ones that I enjoyed the most. I can't remember some of the other movies. It's been a while. I played in 8 Heads in a Duffel Bag. I can't remember. It's been a bunch. It's been a while. But anyway, those were great experiences. And like I said, it wasn't only me. For example, the film, Arnold Schwarzenegger film, Eraser, on that one, it was Alex Acuña, Lenny Castro, Efren Toro, and myself, and we all 4 of us were like playing tons of percussion during that film. So so those were all really great experiences. The Italian Job with John Powell, there were things that we were doing. We couldn't find a certain sound, and we were taking like road cases and opening the lids and slamming them down to get a sound. Yeah, things like that. So like I said, it's a big education because it's what the composer wants, a certain thing that he needs for the film. So you learn how to come up with stuff that you never thought that you'd be doing, Very cool.
And what I wish they would start doing more of is on the end of the movie, of course, they run the credits and all the licensing and the agreements of this, that, but they always bring up the concertmaster or the licensed songs that came in. But I just noticed maybe in the last couple of years, that the artists, the musicians, are actually getting individually credited.
They started to do that. There was a film that Alex's name appeared at the end. Another one, I don't remember the name of the film, but he told me that his name was in the back. And then the film about Jesus what was the name of Passion? The Passion of the Christ. Right. Pedro Eustache, my dear friend who plays every kind of flute and sound you can imagine, he did all of that stuff in that film, and his name and all of that is there credited for that kind of thing. So that's beautiful to see, because before you never saw it. You just saw the conductor or whatever, but never the musician, especially the percussionist.
And I want to talk to you. A lot of things people don't know and stuff. If you're in certain magazines or certain guitar centers or Amoeba Music and the like, you can always see or get a chance to see Richie in clinic. It'll say brought to you by LP Music, Vader, or Remo, and so on. What does that do? How does that fulfill your heart when you're looking at friends and young men out there, young girls out there that are purposely coming to these clinics because they want to be mentored by you? Go ahead and talk about that.
Well, the clinics I've done over about 650 clinics in my career all over the world. And that was all that opened the door. My first instructional video that I actually did with LP was the first multiple percussion video of its kind. And that helped open the door to doing those kind of clinics. I always did them in a participation form rather than a performance form, because I had gone to clinics before and I would see guys that would play an amazing drum solo, but I never learned anything. I just saw an amazing player, So I started incorporating and having audience participation, and it became very popular because kids and of any age, even sometimes the parents, I would bring them up and I'd have one play a cowbell, another one a maraca, whatever, and they would love it so much that the stores were happy, because at the end of the clinic they go buy all that stuff. So the companies loved it because they made sales, and so did the stores. So it was it all worked out. And thanks to especially a person, Alfred Boufil of LP, and Steve Negocian, these guys, I went through I played in almost a clinic in every country in South America, almost every country in Central America. I did clinics in Europe. I did clinics in Japan. I did, like that. And that was an amazing education for myself, let alone for the people that came to see me.
And speaking of different countries, let's step back for a quick second. let's talk about food for 1 second. What's your preference? What does your gut love to taste?
Well, I guess it all depends on the mood that I'm in, but
right.
I love Thai food. And I love Italian food. And I've been already 4 times to Italy to play with a band over there called Morocco Band, who I've recorded with. And they've invited me as a guest percussionist. And when I go there to Padova, Italy, man, when we go to eat, the food in Italy is incredible. I love it, and like I said, I love Thai food, and of course my own heritage food, which is Puerto Rican food, Cuban-like foods. I grew up with that, so but I don't get to eat it as often. But those are some of my favorite foods to eat. And
staying with that vein, country-wise, if you had to choose one country that you find yourself just like in absolute awe of, and if you have a day downtime, and that's a rarity, but what country draws you home?
Well, there's several, but it depends. For example, I love Brazil because to me it's a haven for percussionists. I mean, there's like every kind of percussion stuff you can imagine. But I know the life is a little bit difficult there in general for the population. But I do love the people, and I love the music, and I love the percussion aspect. The other 2 countries that I said that if I ever had to leave the United States because I have to leave, I would either live in Spain or in Italy. Those are my 2 favorite places to be. I love the people, the culture, the fact that I speak Spanish. I can communicate in either language. Spanish, of course, very well, and in Italian I can get by. And like I said, it feels very home to me because I guess all the languages and the cultures come from Latin, and so I can relate to them, really nicely. So those are.
And Richie, while I was just written down this too, I want to find out one thing. And let's step all the way back to the first segment, talking about kids growing up and so on. Did Tristan and Roland, and at the time the baby girl wasn't here, but did they get what Dad did?
Yes, they did. You know what was a great thing that my wife Mary did? When I was touring a lot all over the world and the country and all of that, for a minute the boys were born and they were already getting a little bit older, and it was like she was like, they missed their dad. We have to figure something out here. So she said, you know what, I'm going to get a job with an airline. So then she went and got a job with United Airlines. So what she would do is wherever I was in the world, she would fly and meet me there, even if it was for a couple of days, and she would bring the boys and I'd hang out with them. And so Tristan and Roland went all over the world when they were young, Germany, Australia, all those places. And that's how we were able to keep it together with them so that they could experience some and also be with their dad.
That's so cool, though, man. And that's the benefit of all. Like I always ask every artist that, did the kids get it? I mean, a lot of fathers, a lot of mothers don't have their babies, their offspring that are in the industry itself. And it's just amazing, though, when you think about it, like with the Al Di Meolas and the like that I've interviewed, the kids got it at a young age. And when I did my interview with Carney Wilson, my dear friend, and she shared great anecdotes about she'd come down the stairs at their house at the age of 8, and behind the piano was her father, Brian Wilson, and sitting next to him was a guy named Paul McCartney and Elton John. And, and so I asked her at that age, did you get it? She goes, no, I didn't get who they were until maybe a few years later, because they were just Uncle Paul and Uncle Elton to me, and you think about that, and it's mind blowing, because later in the years to find out that, that they're still friends all these years and they all idolized each other. And that's the cool thing about it. And I want to ask you this question, speaking about idolizing. I mean, you've been blessed in this industry to work with the who's who, and give thanks for that. But let me ask you this question. If you had, or we all have a bucket list, who is a person or persons or group that you would love to work with that you haven't worked with so far?
That I haven't worked so well?
That you haven't.
I would have loved to play with Michael Jackson, but unfortunately, we all know what happened there. Right. That's out there today. That's a really tough question. I honestly can't think of who, because I like playing with everybody. I don't know how to answer that, Jackie.
That's okay.
It's a difficult question because I've worked with so many of the people that I really love working and had such an amazing experience that off the cuff, shall we say, I can't think of anybody like immediately,
But that's okay.
Anyway, sorry, I can't. I don't know what to answer there.
Well, let me go parallel to that then. Who is think about all the people that you've met. Out of all those people you met, who's the coolest artist that you've met that you just were blown away by the coolness and the overall fame, starstruck, if you will?
Well, fortunately, I've never been really like struck when I played with them because I just felt like more honored, Right. For example, when I got to play with Phil Collins and at rehearsal, I got to see what a gentleman he was and how he spoke to the musicians and everything, never in any condescending way or putting down way, and when Sting was the same way, very cool with the band. John Denver was fantastic. John used to treat us like family. I mean, everywhere we went, he would have a restaurant every single night after the show, and just he would always be with the band, that kind of thing. And I love the fact that they were such gentlemen. Some people like Diana Ross, well, she's everybody knows, she's diva, and she would do her show and she would leave, and we basically never hung out much with her, but But later on, she started taking us to some dinners, and she would come, and she was, which is what's really funny is one time we finished a concert and they had behind the stage a limo, and she was getting in the limo, and I'm walking out with Roland and Tristan and the daughter of a friend of ours, and she gets out of the limo and she says, "Are these your kids?" And I go, yes. She came. Oh, I love kids. She came up and gave him a hug and all this stuff. And who to think later on that same kid that she gave a hug to now is playing with her.
Isn't that trippy though?
Yeah,
that's crazy. That's a cool thing. Yeah, and you learn that because there's more occasions than not when people have walked up to me and they knew I was a musician, but through social media they didn't realize I was the finger segment, the quote unquote musician. And one of the club owners had said to me, you're really mellow about this. You're really, and I said, well, how was I supposed to be? They go, well, Jackie, all the people that you work with. I said, let me just tell you something. I appreciate it, but those people that I work with are the stars. But let me just tell you something. They don't have an attitude. Why in God's good name would I have an attitude? One of my closest friends, I can consider a closest friend, is person that I'm still blown away with is my good friend, my boss, Michael McDonald. When you get a chance to hang out with Michael, you don't realize the fact that he's Michael McDonald. He's just the dude. He hangs out.
He's the nicest guy because I've met him a few times too.
The best. Guy.
And forgive me for interrupting you, but go ahead, finish. And then I want to mention somebody that I haven't mentioned.
Okay, I want you to write that down on your piece of paper you don't have in front of you because we're going to be blowing out of segment number 5. Blown away, my brother. Good times to say the least. So when we come out of segment number 5 into our final 2-hour set with my in-studio guest, Mr. Richie Gajate Garcia. Richie, write what you want to talk about because I want to make sure we get all that out, and I also want to talk about how how God has enlightened your music and such. And I want to talk to you about more of another show coming up that I want to introduce you to, Mr. Aaron A. Train Smith and his new show on the network called Intersect, and it's all about how God has brought everybody together, how the music industry and so on. I'll have Florentino talk to you about that. So with that said, guys, don't go anywhere. Segment number 6 on the way, 5 out the door with my in-studio guest, Mr. Richie Gajate Garcia. Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, Intertalk Radio. Don't go anywhere. Last set coming up.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Girls are talking rock again.
And people are listening.
Today we're talking bands.
Let's talk promotion. Red Giant promo, graphics, EPKs, video, photos, social media, and brand building using content marketing.
But let's talk studio at CCMA, which is events, rehearsal, tour prep, piano, guitar, voice, rock band, lessons, workshops, and clinics. Yeah!
Both proud sponsors of Girls Talk Rock.
Well, get the lowdown on these services and contact me, Tracy, at girlstalkrock.com.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove with your host, Jackie Bertoni. Get ready to come behind the scenes with your favorite musicians, candid and raw. Jackie keeps it real, as only Jackie can. Are you ready to get your groove on?
Can you believe it? Second hour. We're almost done. One more segment left. This is Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Radio Network. Hey, guys, I'm loving today, man. I'm loving being back in my studio. I love that I'm getting my groove back on a daily basis. And also, I gave a shout-out to Rob Bacon, who does my bumper music. I also want to give a shout-out to my dear friend Daryl Fitzgerald Walker, amazing vocalist and saxophonist with Greg Adams' band called East Bay Soul. So, Daryl, thank you so much, man, for that voice, and I really appreciate it. And speaking of voice, I've got the voice of percussion on my line right now in the studio, Mr. Richie Gajate Garcia. Richie, welcome back to the last segment of this crazy thing called Jackie's Groove. Welcome back, brother.
Yeah, man. I'm loving it. Thank you again.
Man, and I know you're welcome. Thank you. And also, we all have our right hand, man. My right hand is my wife. Your right hand is Mary. And I couldn't live without her, and I'm sure you couldn't live without her. But I can tell you the studio and the network can't live without, my three people. Actually, my four people. Florentino Buenaventura, who's the CEO. Paul Berzetsky, who is our COO. And my segment producer you spoke to already, Megan Wynn. And also Alex Chesney, our CFO, who's kicking our asses and getting our monies in line here. So all with that said, I want to, and I want to bring on, we have this little shtick that we've been doing since day one, is where I bring on the CEO. It's not a contractual agreement. It's something that we do. It gives me a chance to stretch, in this case, my hamstring. So with that said, Florentino, say hi to Richie. Richie, say hi to Florentino, if you would.
Hey, Florentino. How are you?
I'm good, Richie. How you doing, brother, man?
I'm fine. Enjoying very much the broadcast. I'm really happy to be here. And talking with Jackie, we're also always so busy we don't get a chance to catch up at times,
Hey, man, no better place to catch up than on the radio. That's how we do it around here.
For sure.
And, I must say that, it's a great interview in your history. It's just an honor to have you on the network. And, I was going to do it, but I decided not to. I was going to scream out the whole Richie line from La Bamba just because your name's Richie. I just couldn't help it. I did help it, though.
Thanks a lot.
Good boy.
But, the reason why we have this network is we really like to honor the players that sometimes go unsung, the players that really define that tone of the artist. And we're doing some incredible things with the NAMM organization, NAMM Foundation, to kind of help shed some more light on you guys. And part of it, what we do is these interviews, and we want people to know more about you, Richie. So if you can share with us some of the ways they can find out. Obviously, you've got Wikipedias and other things, but if you got some of the URLs that they can get you dialed in, what are those?
Well, basically, to find out any information on me, you can find stuff on YouTube all over the place, because I've done so many lessons and parts of my clinics and things that I've done for the schools where they record you teaching, etc. That's one of the things. The other thing is I've written 4 books, play congas now, play bongos and hand percussion now, play timbale now, and now play cajon now. These are things that are out there in the market that people can check out. And I'm always very open to responding to anyone if they email me, which is very easy, just gajate@aol.com. That's my email. And they can just email me, ask me whatever questions. Or Facebook, a lot of stuff on Facebook. But I don't... I don't have a website anymore. I just found it just too time consuming to try to keep up. So basically, I'm just, out in pretty much of the social media aspect.
Right. Yeah. No, it makes all sense. Well, it's a great honor for us to have you on here. I'm going to let Jackie continue on, because there's just was not enough time. You guys could go on for hours. So. Oh yes. Yeah. So
good to meet you, and don't play La Bamba, please. Okay.
I won't scream out the La Bamba line. Back to you, Jackie.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, Florentino. Hey, Richie, I want to touch some. We talked a little last segment about, just about our beliefs and so on. And not everybody has to believe. If you believe the rock in front of your house is your savior, and if it's what draws you to that faith, then I don't, knock yourself out. And no judgment here. But you've done a lot with, in the ministry with your music and the Word of God. Do you want to share that with with our listeners out there?
For sure, I'd love to. And if you forgive me, I just want to mention real quick one person that I've always been grateful and thankful to. Please. That's Frankie Valli. That was my first professional gig, and he took care of me as if I was like a kid brother, especially in those days. I didn't even own a pair of congas when I came to work for him, and he bought all of the gear and took care of me and everything during those first years of my career. Were some of the most amazing years of my life. So thank you, Frankie.
Absolutely.
But anyway, also especially want to thank the Lord, because the coming to a spiritual part of my life, I started going to a church actually with Alex and even Chester Thompson and different guys, Abraham Laborio, whatever. We were all Justo Almario. We were all going to the church on the way, and I forget the name of Justo's church in Glendale area where he lives, but. I started seeing that originally, musicians, when you get into becoming a musician, you're doing it, the term, drug, sex, and rock and roll, shall we say. And I realized that there was a part of my life that was missing. And when I started coming to the Lord and started coming to church, and I started playing for the music of the Lord and everything, I found it extremely healing. I found it just putting, shall we say, my life in order, rather than music being everything in my life. He became first in my life, and then my family was second, so my wife, and then my children, and then my music. And by putting my life in that kind of an order, it helped me live my career, not worrying about what would happen or if I didn't do this or didn't do that. I would just pray about it, and I would say, hand it to the Lord, and then things would just work in that manner. And I started doing some Christian crusades. The first one that I did, other than playing at different churches and whatever, was with Franklin Graham, Billy Graham's son.
Yes.
And I toured with him and everything, and we went to Brazil and we went to Mexico, different U.S. And I started hearing some amazing groups of Christian musicians, and it was such a different feeling from hearing a great song about love or whatever. This was about, about the soul, about your life, living your life. That it reached me in such a profound way that at times I would even cry when I would hear some of the lyrics and some of the songs that I would hear. And then later on, I did some work with Joel Osteen when he would come to California. And then the most recent thing I did was, it's been a very sad thing because unfortunately he's no longer with us. Kim Clement, he was considered a prophet, and even my son was playing there, and the band, it was like an Earth, Wind, and Fire band, and the prophecies that this man put forth were incredibly proved, and stuff that he did was so profound that it just changed my life. It just helped me to become a humble person, a much better person, and a person to realize that this is a gift that comes from the Lord, and I'm just here to do the best I can with it and go for it in faith. So I don't compete with anybody. I don't try to to prove that, I'm the best or I'm the greatest or whatever like that. I just do what I do to the best of my ability, and I thank the Lord for that blessing,
Amen, brother. You got to give thanks daily. Daily, you have to give thanks. Every day. And let me just ask you a question. I want to go back to this because I can relate to this as a musician. Let's go back to live playing for one quick second. Okay. And a lot of artists want to know about this also. When you're on stage, are you the old school wedge monitor? Are you in air, or do you have a choice?
I'm an old school wedge guy, only because most of the gigs that I did, they didn't have the in-ears, and Phil Collins always uses in-ears, and those were the first ones I used, and I just couldn't get used to what my percussion instrument sounded like because we have so many different timbres. A conga sound one way, bongo sound different, a shaker sounds a certain way, a triangle. I couldn't hear the wind chimes or the triangle or a shaker. I just didn't sound right to me. So I always would, even if I had in-ears, I would always request, can I please have a monitor also? Because I would miss the depth of the instruments also.
And there's nothing worse when you can't hear your toys. Oh, nothing worse.
So I had started, what I did was I started taking one out. But then I would miss the fullness of the band because the only thing you heard on stage was drums. no bass, no guitar, nothing.
Exactly.
So that was really tough. But now, of course, in-ears have improved in such a way that they sound incredible. And, but I still love the monitors, especially if I have some electronics. When I use some electronics, they sound through those monitors. They just sound like little toys. And I just, don't enjoy it that way.
Agreed. And also, too, I want to ask a question. I know how I am. Like somebody had said, I said this story over and over again. But like if I have any friends or new guests before the show, one person had made a mention to my wife that, is Jackie pissed off? And she goes, and why would you say that? She goes, he just wasn't himself. And she goes, just recently? She goes, yeah. And he goes, no. 5 minutes before Jackie goes on stage, he kind of gets to himself. He gives a prayer. He gives a prayer to his mama and to God that he can last the 2-hour show. And that's how I get, and then, of course, I'm going to talk about it after the gig. So with that said, does Richie Gajate Garcia, do you welcome, and this family aside, but do you welcome guests backstage before the show, or do you prefer to wait till after the show?
Usually I won't bring people to the back of the stage before the show. Not so much for me. I'll go out into the audience and I'll meet them there. But I don't bring them back because usually a lot of the other musicians like to have their quiet moments, or the artist, doesn't want people in the back and whatever. So I tell them, look, I go out to let them know that I'm aware that they're there. And then after the show, come on back to the green room to hang out, have a drink, whatever, And that's usually how I do, unless, of course, it's a very close friend or a percussionist friend, professional. Like if you were there, I bring you backstage, right? Because you know the whole routine and the whole scene. You know how it's like. But a lot of times, some people, friends, especially if they're fans, sometimes they, oh, can I get an autograph and a picture? And the artists usually, the artists don't want to have anything to do that, especially before the show.
As I said too, I had the pleasure of interviewing Al Jarreau, not only on the show, but he was in my home. And to have Al Jarreau, he sat with us for 3 hours and we talked. And I asked a lot of the neighbors, just out of respect, because people wanted to meet him. And I just said, guys, out of respect, no, and just because I know how people can get on it, regardless of how age-wise, you just don't want to bombard people. And that's out of respect. Now, and with that said about bombarding, how about you? Are you a person that eats before a gig, or are you the culprit that eats after the gig at 11 o'clock at night?
I like to eat a little bit of something before the gig, and then I'll have a bigger meal after the show if it's not too late. But usually, what happens, and you can attest to this, is your adrenaline is so up from playing that it takes a minute to wind down. So then I go out with the guys and whatever, and get a meal and maybe have a glass of wine or something, and just to kind of mellow out, and then go to bed.
Unplug.
That's it. And the next day, get up and go. Well, I always try to work out to, get myself going for the next gig or whatever. And like that,
Okay, Richie. And you know what? And talk about unplug. Let's talk about a plug for a second. We talked about it earlier, but go ahead and give a shout out to those people who line your studio and stage. Talk about the endorsements and give them their shout out and props.
Well, I definitely want to thank all these companies that have supported me through the years, such as Sabian, Remo, Vader, Audix, Lewitt, DW, LP, Accent, Gibraltar, and a few more that, forgive me if I can't remember their names right now off the bat, but all these companies in some way or another have supported my career and have always given me the instruments that I need to get the best performance and sound possible. And to them, I thank you all for your support and your continued support, and God bless you all.
And then, and in a minute, just kind of finish up with this question and thought, you and I were pretty much the same age. And, but if I was to hijack your iPhone or your car, what music am I going to find on your playlist, brother?
Oh my God. It's a bunch of stuff.
There you go.
Tons of Brazilian stuff, funky stuff, some jazz, some fusion. Like I played on Dave Weckl's record, you know what I mean? Multiplicity, that kind of style of music. We used to have a group with Alex Acuna and the Unknowns, which was kind of like a weather report kind of thing. That kind of thing. I listened to some rock, what's their name? They have like an Asian name. Shit, why I'm so bad with band names? Not Kung Fu. What they're called? What's the name? Shoot, I can't think of their name right now.
It's okay.
But anyway, there's a little bit of everything, primarily because I play in all those styles. I want to get an idea of how different people approach all of the different styles. And actually, that's what's helped my career as doing the variety of music that I've done, because I can assimilate just about any style of music.
Richie, last minute and 20 seconds. Give me your overview and your personal opinion about the music business or the lack thereof. Afraid or optimistic or pessimistic?
I always want to be optimistic that things will get better for musicians in general. Right now it's very tough out there, and one of the things that's happening too is a lot of the tours and things are not going out too much because of the situation that's happening in the world. And then also the music industries, there aren't record companies like there used to be. A lot of it is almost company made, shall we say. And so much of the music these days is programmed, and then they bring live musicians to do live. But all of the recording aspects these days, a lot of people do them at home and kind of a thing. So in many ways, yes, the work for musicians has been very affected. But I always say don't lose faith, and because there's always something out there for everybody.
Richie, 30 seconds. Brother, did you have a good time today?
I had a great time. I could get you. Let's do another hour.
Man, I'll tell you, do me a favor, man, spread the word, brother. And if you know notables like yourself that you think would benefit from the show, pass the word, brother, because I can use all the help I can get. I mean, I don't mind having a book schedule, but we're now going to 3 shows a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So we'll send out some personal situations to you, and we'll go from that. So with that said, brother, in the last 8 seconds, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, our hearts. God bless you. Thank you for making Jackie's Groove what it is, one of the number one talk shows in the industry. With that said, guys, welcome. Thank you, Mr. Richie Gajate Garcia, Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, Intertalk Radio. I finish up by saying peace through music.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. Pitbullaudio.com.